Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's Thursday going? How's everybody's week going? Shout out to everybody in the chat. I got a special guest today. I got former Major League Baseball player Homer Bush on the show. So make sure you all hit that like button, hit that subscribe, share this channel out with everyone you know. I would greatly appreciate it. Homer, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on. How's life treating you? How's your day going? Talk to us, man.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Life is good. I'm in Tampa now at the Yankees fantasy camp. Ladies and the guys starting up next week, so looking
Nice.
forward to about 10 days of fun.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Yankees fantasy camp. So what do you do there?
That's a great question, man. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of baseball. Get to hang out with some really cool people. So they play a couple games a day, and then we just eat. We eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just eat all day, play baseball, and do it all over again the next day.
That is a fantasy right there for sure, man. That's
And
awesome.
the food is amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and this takes place at Georgia M. Steinbrenner Field.
Yes, uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool, cool, cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I have a memory of you because when I was a kid, I remember you were with the New York Yankees. You got traded
Mhm,
to them with Hideki Irabu.
mhm.
I know you were on the 1998 World Series team. I was a young kid at the time, but that was I remember that year. I mean, I remember everything about that year. I remember everything about that team. For you, what was it like playing with that team? I mean, there was a lot of amazing players.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of what was that experience like for you with that
Man,
19?
you making me feel old right out the gate, but that's cool.
Come on, man.
I'm just kidding. No, it was whew, it was just so many different uh feelings and emotions, right? So, I always tell the story about an older brother. He passed now, but he was a huge Daryl Strawberry, Tim Raines fan and a Chili Davis fan. And when I was like 10, 12, he used to always say, "Oh man, you got to play like this guy." And I ended up being on the same team with those guys. That's crazy when you really think about it, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I had that going. Then, Jeter was becoming, the Prince of New York, right? I mean, the core four was like almost in full effect. So it was just actually pretty cool to be in a situation. And I was a little bit older than those guys, but I was still considered a rookie. So I had an opportunity to sit back and learn a little bit, see how baseball is done the Yankee way, and eventually propelled me to go on and do great things. I feel after that, but that '98 season was definitely a dream come true.
Yeah, that 98 season was amazing. Like you were surrounded by greatness, right? You had Derek Jeter, you had Paul O'Neill, you had Derek Jeter, you had Tino Martinez, Jorge Posada, Mariano Rivera. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, there was something really magical about that team. During that in that year that you played with the Yankees, was there a teammate that you consistently talked to, that you became really
Yeah.
really good friends with?
Oh, no doubt. Tim Raines, everybody loves Tim Raines. And, it was later in his career, so I had a lot of time to talk with him, during the games when he was platooning. And our bench was just as strong as our starting lineup. So it was literally like we were just chomping at the bit to get into the games. But we would sit and talk hitting. I remember when the some of the different hidden philosophies that coming on the scene, and I was actually discussing that stuff with Tim Raines back in '98, and it's crazy to me how he was teaching me things that was going to come up, in the future, in the game of baseball. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, you know, I always say about that '98 team, we won a lot of games, but Boston won a lot of games too. I mean, Baltimore was really good, and we couldn't really, take our foot off the gas. If not, anybody could have passed us up. So I mean, it was fun, but it was stressful at the same time.
I could imagine as an athlete, going out there every day to perform. I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure on players, and I know all eyes were on that 1998 Yankees team at that time, and they were the team to beat. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, they went 114 wins for 48 losses. So, you just think to yourself. At least I thought to myself, there's no way that they're gonna not win a World Series. They have to win a World Series. I mean, with a team like that, and you all made that happen. Of course, you ended up sweeping the Padres. So, after that season, I remember hearing on the radio that you, Graham Lloyd, David Wells were traded to the Toronto Blue Jays for Roger Clemens. Now, that again, as a young, I know I was a young kid, but that one would caught me off guard. That one would caught me by surprise. And if
Yeah,
memory serves me right, I think there was a lot of mixed reactions with that trade. Um,
yeah.
how did you feel about that trade? I mean, were you shocked that it happened? Did it come to you as a surprise at all?
No, no, not at all. So that year, and I mean '98, they were all guaranteed contracts. So I was not even supposed to be on the team. I was literally supposed to have been traded in spring training, but Luis Sojo ended up breaking a bone in his hand. So Cashman and Joe Torres like, hey, we're going to take you with us up north. Once we figure out, Cashman said it was like 8 teams that wanted me. He was like, hey, I'm going to make a deal with one of these 8 teams, get you somewhere you can play. You're young, young player. You'll be fine. Well, I end up carving out a role, with pinch running, getting on base, spot starting. There were times when, the team went in a funk, I'd get a spot start, spark the offense. And so they was like, whoa, whoa, we may be able to use this young man. And so they end up releasing someone once Soho came back. So but I knew I still was going to be trade bait eventually because that role really wasn't going to be, I didn't want to I didn't want to come off the bench my whole career. I wanted an
Hmm.
opportunity to start. And I had some really good starts against the Blue Jays, who was trying to replace Roberto Alomar at the
Hmm.
time. They had run some guys out there and they was like, hey, we're looking for some starting pitching and a second baseman. Because Roger Clemens wanted to be traded, or I don't know how that went, but Cashman kept me in the loop is the long and short of it. So I knew I was going to be traded, at least hoping I was, so I can go play every day. Even though I enjoyed my time with the Yankees, it was probably better for my career to go out and play every day somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I know players when the big goal for a lot of players when they make it to the major leagues, they want to be able to play every day. They don't want to be necessarily the guy that comes off the bench, and you wanted to be out there, you wanted to play. I mean, it was clear. So I'm glad it happened for you. I'm glad it happened for you, and playing for the Blue Jays. Obviously you lived in Canada for a few years. Was
Mhm.
that a big culture shock at all, or did it take time for you to adjust to Canada, to Toronto? What was that experience like there?
Oh man, I can adapt with the best of them. So no, it was actually a really cool experience. I live downtown, only a mile or two from the stadium every year. Man, played the dome was amazing. Man, the people were amazing. The food was great. Had some success. Made some bread. It was a great experience. I tell you what, I'm glad I had the opportunity to play up in Canada.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few former major league players, and they seem to have enjoyed their time in Canada, because a couple of these players have played for the Toronto Blue Jays,
Mhm.
and it sounds like the Blue Jays organization, they take care of their players, they treat their players well. I've also heard that. Is that true?
Absolutely. Oh man, it was crazy. Like anything you wanted, anything you thought you needed to be a better player on the field, you got. I mean, man, we had really you give me some good food, some brand new baseballs and some, some good bats, man, just go to work, So, but literally, they used to always say, anything you need, let us know. And man, and I travel, I think it's called Sport Hawk. We traveled, big time too. So, I mean, again, great experience. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I always like to know how players adjust. Playing in a different country because, again, some players will play in Canada, others in Japan, others in Korea. Those players will. Some players that have played in Major League Baseball will, travel to other countries and play for their respective team as well. So, I always like to know how, players' experience in a different country. So, with Toronto, did you you had some good players that you were surrounded by.
Mhm.
How did you adapt? Did you like the teammates there, and was there a teammate that you really liked over there?
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, we were a lot younger group than that Yankees team. So everybody was pretty cool. But I hung tight with my man Shannon Stewart. Shannon Stewart was a baller, man. That dude could really play. But man, Jose Cruz Jr., Alex Gonzalez, my double play partner. Um, eh, I mean, these guys were, focused. We played in the AL East. I'm telling you, if we would have gotten the opportunity to get in the Central, we probably could have done some damage because I remember vividly one year we were in first place going into like July and we end up getting run down by the Yanks and the Red Sox. But man, we were a good young group. I tell you what, I saw a lot of similarities, playing with that mature '98 Yankees team and being around Delgado, Sean Green, Alex Gonzalez. It's not like I played with a bunch of young guys and we were just wilding out, just trying to figure things out. There was a little bit of trying to figure it out, but for the most part, I mean, these guys were true professionals. So, even though we were young, we played a really good style of baseball, I felt. We didn't flourish at the right time. We had Chris Carpenter, Roy Halladay. I mean, think about that. Delgado, Mondesi. Then we had Greeny for a bit, Cruz Jr., Shannon Stewart, myself. I mean, man, we had a really good group of guys. It just didn't come together at the right time.
Yeah, Toronto. Oh, during that time, I mean, even now, I mean, they always have great players. They just have solid players, and Toronto is one of those teams that they could be a pain to deal with. Especially in the AL East. I mean, it doesn't matter how good the AL one of the AL East teams is. Um, Especially about like let's say the Yankees. Obviously, Yankees are always the target, but teams in the AL East, they always gave the Yankees a hard time. Like it's just as simple as that. I mean, and today it hasn't changed. The AL East is just a rough. They're a rough division. You could on paper you could be better than than other teams, but those teams that you're playing against in the AL East, they're going to make your life difficult. And Toronto's been that team. They've been that team, and I remember watching those guys play against the Yankees. I mean, they gave the Yankees a hard time. They did, and it still hasn't changed today. So, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. And you're laughing about it because it's true.
No, no, no. The reason why I'm laughing is because if you, I do not, I should look this stat up because I'm doing a lot of podcasts now. I need to come with some facts, but that was like 30, 40 games where we were behind going into like the fifth or sixth inning. And you could tell teams were giving us their best in '98. And then we just we just come back because man, like you say, you got Jeter, Bernie, then you got Chili, Strawberry coming off the bench, Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, Chuck Knobloch. I mean, it was like just too much to keep up to hold us down for 9 innings. Now, the reason why I find it so funny is because we had so many come from behind victories. In the fifth or sixth inning. It's not like they were all eighth, ninth, and the nail biters, but we could tell, wow, these guys are smacking us in the mouth right now. But when I
Mhm.
became a visiting player, I felt the same energy as the visiting teams from '98, right? Like, man, we're gonna take it to the Yankees. Boston too, Cleveland as well. Man, we play these teams tough, and they eventually just wear us down and you know win the games. But it's so funny that you say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it's tough. It's tough to keep up with those players, right? When you were playing against them, but it's still, Toronto was just one of those pesky teams, and it hasn't changed since then. So I mean, they still give the Yankees a lot of grief. So I mean, it just
Yeah.
not, it hasn't changed over the years. So, but I did have there's a few folks asking some questions. Let me grab a couple of questions here, Homer, if you
Okay.
don't mind. NY Yankee Mania is asking how you felt about George Steinbrenner.
Oh man, I love Mr. Steinbrenner. Um, Mr. Steinbrenner, when I first got traded over, I flew to Tampa. And as I'm walking to meet Mr. Steinbrenner, he had two or three guys say, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. And I was like, all right, cool. So I walked to Mr. Steinbrenner, I dapped him up, brought him in with a hug, like, how you doing, Mr. Steinbrenner? Like that's just how I am. That's just my
Yeah.
personality. And people are like, what is he doing? Like, man. So I've always had this relationship with Mr. Steinbrenner that it was just like I didn't panic around him because he was a powerful man. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he instilled a lot of fear in people. But I had a situation where I stole a bag in the postseason off of uh, Alomar from Cleveland. And Mr. Steinbrenner saw me. He was pumped about that. Every time I would see Mr. Steinbrenner, he'd say something encouraging to me, something positive. So I had a great relationship with him. I bet if I had 500 or 600 at bats, I probably would have been a little bit more afraid of him. But since I didn't play every day, it was all good.
Yeah, well, you know, Mr. Steinbrenner, George Steinbrenner, there was a lot of talk about him. I mean, he was you ask some people, he was just a guy with a bad attitude. Other people are just like, no, he was great. He was talked about a lot.
Mhm.
He was in the back pages a lot on the newspapers. So, you always heard a lot of things about Mr. Steinbrenner, but there's no denying that he was able to get every player he wanted and any player he wanted. You just see he shows you the money, and the players are just like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna sign. We're gonna sign. And he was just one of those guys. He seemed very gutsy. Didn't care about what other people thought. I mean, he was a different kind of guy. I don't know what he was like with other players, but it sounds like with you everything was great.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything.
all positive, no doubt. I've definitely heard some stories, but no, all positive with me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Um, Another question here. So Stephen B saying Homer Bush. So was Yankee secure back then with security that bad? Like Juan Soto says for players and family. I think what he's asking is because there was an article that came out that supposedly Juan Soto said that security treated his family bad. They were trying to get somewhere, and they treated his family bad. And again, that I don't know if that news is true. Somebody put it out there, but did security ever give you or your family a hard time ever, or was that never a thing?
Oh no, never a thing. Man, 98. Because you remember I was at 97, 98, and 04. Now in 97, they were just coming off a championship season in 96, right? So
Mm-hmm.
man, 97, we thought we was going back because I came over in 97. So man, we thought we was going back. It was gonna be all good. So I
Yeah.
mean the energy was high. And then 98, the 98 season, bro, from start to finish, I promise you, it was like I always compare. I don't know what the Beatles are like, but just what I see on TV, man, we were extremely popular in '98, and I mean, it was crazy. Everywhere we went, people loved us, and I never had any issues. Man, I tell you what, uh, yeah, I still know Joe, Harry, and all these guys even today. So it was like, no, I never experienced that. So I did hear something about that, but I'm not sure. I never really got to see, hear about what actually happened, but I did hear that wasn't a bad experience. But no, we was, so I was there doing the good times. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So all my experiences with security was all good.
Yeah, and things like you said, times are different. Times are
Yeah,
different,
yeah.
especially
Totally
back
different
when
times.
you were playing the game and compared to now. So I mean, maybe the rules from the security from Yankee security might be different. I mean, for all we know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating based on that report, but then again, I don't know if that report is even true or not because I
True or
don't think.
not? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard Juan Soto say anything about it. I mean, um,
But I will say this though, right? I'm not going to say that it did not happen, but I will say this: if you tell security you won Soto's mother, wife, they're gonna be like, wait, okay, cool, man. Let's, man, what can I get you? What can I do for you? I mean, that's the way. Whenever I hear that story, that's what I think. So I have a hard time believing that it took place, but I'm not going to say that it did not because I was not there. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, all you gotta do is say, so, man, Soto was the man. Like, I just don't know how it could have gotten to that point.
Yeah, that one I'm a little suspicious about. But speaking of changes in different times, and I always ask this question, but one of our subscribers here is asking how do you feel about the new rule changes such as the pitch clock? Because when you played the game, it was clearly different. Now you fast forward today, and there are so many different rules: the pitch clock, the ghost runner, um, you know, the bigger base bags. So how do you feel about all these rule changes
You
that are
know, I like them, and I'll tell you why.
okay?
Because especially the pitch clock, for me, with so much analytics, a pitcher will pitch outside the zone a lot nowadays. Back in the day, pitchers they challenged you more, or at least they were trying to throw strikes. Now, I mean, some of these at bats just take too long. Now, I'm okay with that because that's a strategy, but you have to balance it out because if a pitcher can stand out there and walk around the mound and take his time, then you can't turn around and have 150 pitches thrown by each side either. So there has to be an equalizer. So for me, the
Hmm.
pitch clock, I like it, especially now as a fan, I'm just watching the games. Uh, the bigger bases, well, when Moneyball came into play, it eliminate, teams letting guys run. So they even took the green light from me when I was playing because of
Hmm.
Moneyball. So to encourage teams to run more, you make the bases bigger, give the runner a chance because the way they see it is, a really good base stealer is going to be successful 75 to 80% of the time. So you're literally giving up 20% of the outs. So they're just trying to make that number a little bit bigger, a little bit more like 85 to 90%. So they bring more action into the game. And it doesn't take a whole tool away from a guy like myself, because if I don't hit 30 home runs, then I have no value to the game of baseball. Not only just me, but players my size and do what I did, right? So,
Hmm.
I'm okay with the rules because analytics has changed baseball so much that you have to have an equalizer, and that's kind of like how I see it. It's like, all right, well, hey, if the game is going to change in one form or fashion, then we've got to do something to bring that back into the game.
Yeah, copy. I get different reactions. I've had a lot of former players on this channel, and some hate it, some are for it. Some, you know, they're not exactly against it, but they wish it wasn't the case. But things like the pitch clock. Listen, I understand the pitch clock because sometimes pitchers take a little while. Sometimes the batter takes a little while. So you're not going to see, like another Nomar Garcia where he's just adjusting his gloves and he's stepping into the plate and he's digging his feet into the dirt. So, I mean, I enjoyed that part because of the fact that it was just like a buildup of like what's going to happen.
Mhm.
So I did like that part. I do understand Major League Baseball wanted to speed up games. Uh, I get all that, but sometimes it's one of those things where from a fan perspective, if I go to the game and let's just say I'm at the concession stand, those lines are long, and next thing you know, you probably missed like 2 innings, just from standing in the line. So I mean, that
Mm.
part, I'm just like, man, I don't, I want to be able to watch the whole game. So, that's like one of the few negatives. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Mhm.
At first, when those rules came out, I was like, man, what is going on here with the ghost runner, the pitch clock, like the bigger base bags now. But it's growing on me now. I've obviously have gotten used to it. I'm just curious to see what Major League Baseball is going to do as far as new rules go. I mean, hopefully it doesn't take too much of the originality out of the game or out of the
Mhm.
sport. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Would you be in favor of like new rules in baseball, or are there any rules that you would like if it was up to you? Were there any rules that you would like to implement into Major League Baseball?
Yeah. I'd make it a time limit that a manager and a coach could manage and coach in baseball. Like on a day to day, not really. There's not a whole lot
Mm-hmm.
left to change other than the automatic strike zone. But I mean, I'd like to give other people an opportunity. Some guy managing some team for 20 years, to me, just makes no sense to me. Uh, to have a coach that coached 15 years, like, man, that's baseball is such a popular sport. There's definitely more qualified candidates. Teams just get so stuck in their ways where they're just like, don't fix something that's not broken. It's just like, man, it's, dude, that's crazy to me. I mean, when I'm hearing that, these guys are coaching and managing for 15, 20 years, I'm like, man, it's the best the game has to offer. Like, who we fooling here? So that's probably the only thing I would change, just to give other people opportunities. And as far as the ghost runner at second base, I know that's meant to help with pitching, not have long games. But again, uh, I probably would get rid of that rule and bring up some younger guys, give them an opportunity. Uh, before they were supposed to have been ready, based on whose timeline, right? So that I'm not a big fan of that rule, but it works. It gets the games over quicker, and so I really don't want to have a 20-21 inning ball game in today's game.
Mm-hmm. Copy. Yeah, again. So it sounds like you appreciate the changes that have happened in Major League Baseball, and you watching it now as a fan. Um, you do appreciate it. Do you think you would have accepted it as a player if you were playing the game today?
Sure, most definitely. Oh, for sure, the bigger bases. Oh man, sign me up. Pitch clock. Yeah, pitch clock probably wouldn't bother me. I used to keep most of the time. I used to get in the batter's box anyway. I didn't have a big routine or anything like that. So yeah, but yeah, I think I would appreciate them for sure.
Awesome, awesome. There's one more question one of our subscribers here. He's asking what it was like sitting through the David Wells perfect game and whether it's true that he said he's pitching a perfect game or something like that.
Man,
Did he
now it's
actually?
wild.
Yeah.
He may have, because about the sixth inning, I was talking with a couple. I was looking around and I was like, I say, man, talking to myself. Hey, my man got a perfect game going. And I was like, man, I think I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on this one, because something tells me you don't want to jinx it, right? You don't want to be the guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
but I did notice it about the sixth inning. I was like, whoa. And seventh inning came, and then by like the eighth, he was sitting down by himself. he was sitting down there by himself for like a large part of the game, from like seventh, eighth inning. Oh, I said, okay, yeah, everybody else recognized too. Nobody said nothing, but he may have. But I see. I used to go up and run when the team would come in from off of defense. I had to go up and run in the hallway there, leading down to the dugout. So he may have said it, but I know I was sure thinking it, and no one else had said it. And I was like, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, how what was that feeling like just watching him pitch that perfect game? Was that had to been an awesome feeling to witness that?
Yeah, but I tell you what, the eighth and ninth inning were the most stressful because you're probably gonna get everybody's best. The seventh, eighth, ninth, call that the winning zone, right? So of course, when the eighth and ninth came, it was like, uh-oh. I was wondering if somebody was gonna bunt, just making sure no one did anything crazy like that. And of course, you want your teammate to throw I mean, just a no hitter, but for it to be a perfect game was even better. So yeah, it was a little nerve wracking, I'll admit.
I can
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
imagine, man.
Because you want them to get it. You like, man, this is you can say I witnessed this.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I remember watching that on TV, and it was my first time witnessing a perfect game. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty awesome. And I remember that year too. David, he almost had another one. I think it was against Oakland in the same
Mm,
year. And I think he gave up the hit in like the seventh inning, I want to say. But he almost had two perfect games in one season, which I was like, there's wow. I was like,
yeah.
that's phenomenal. If he pitched the second perfect game, that would have been phenomenal. So, but we got about 10 minutes or so. A couple more questions. We'll dive a little bit more into the questions I'm about to ask, and um, I wanted to know. So your son now is playing ball.
Hmm.
So did you? I mean, I'm sure you influenced him in some way, shape, or form, or I'm sure him watching you play probably made him want to play the sport of baseball. I mean, how does that make you feel as a father? Watching him play the game, and I know he's still in the minor leagues right now, correct?
Hmm.
And what is that feeling like for you, man, as a father watching your son play?
It's definitely a great feeling. The thing that's cool about my son's path to pro ball was that he didn't have an easy road. So he didn't play a whole lot in high school. High school coach didn't like him much. Went to college, didn't play his freshman year, but he just kept working. As long as he kept getting opportunities, he just kept performing. And, I used to tell him all the time, man, you're going to get your one shot. You're the type of player, if you're going to continue to play beyond high school and college, you've got to be prepared to perform when you get that one shot. And that's literally how his path to pro ball has happened. It's not like people gave him an opportunity because I'm his dad. I don't have that LeBron effect. So so it's one of those deals where he's earned everything he's gotten. I mean, if people could have been with him on a day to day during his journey, most people couldn't survive. But he's a really intelligent young man. He's confident in his abilities. And so every time he got an opportunity, he just took advantage of it. And, he's, you know, continued to thrive even in the minor league. So, looking forward to, seeing what his career end up like because he's a special human being for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, overcoming and those adversities and going through those challenges, and especially, you're going through the minor league system. You're competing against so many other guys that they're trying to get this, they're trying to do the same thing you're doing,
Mhm.
and I'm sure it was like that for you coming up too. You coming up as a baseball player, you were competing against you know hundreds of other guys that wanted that same position that you did. What do you feel like you did something different to stand out, or that made it that the scouts were like, we like this guy over those 100 other guys?
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, when I first got drafted out of high school, there was
Hmm.
a high school baseball coach at Edwardsville, Illinois. I got on a plane and he recognized me. He said, "Homer, I just want to congratulate you on getting drafted, and I wish you the best of luck." He said, "If I was going to give you any advice, view everybody as a diamond that you're on the field with, and the one that shines the brightest is the one they're going to take. Find something you do well, be really good at it, and that'll, get you to the major leagues." So my agent used to always say, hit 280, steal 30 bases, play solid defense, you'll make $1 million. You're playing the major leagues, make $1 million. So with my son, excuse me, he
Hmm.
has carrying tools. I mean, he's 6'3", runs a 6'1", 60, plays gold glove defense. Those are his carrying tools. And all he'll do is just learn how to hit for a little power. And he should get an opportunity to play in the major leagues. The key is to know your ability and go be good at that. I always say you can't be a blank canvas. You can't be out there just trying to figure out on a day to day. Highlight those tools that you have, especially if you know what the organization wants and those tools they align properly. You'll get an opportunity. So, and by the way, performance always went out. When you perform, people give you a shot.
Yeah. So, I mean, good tips, good advice, especially for anybody who is watching, just in case you are trying to
Yeah.
be a baseball player. Uh, some excellent advice from Homer Bush here. So, yeah, again, I know going through that process, it's hard. My brother growing up, my older brother growing up, he had a couple of friends that played baseball and they tried out. I forget for which team they for their minor league team. They didn't make it. And to me, these guys were good. Like these
Mhm,
guys
mhm.
played ball, they played good ball, but in the scouts' eyes and the manager that is running the team, I mean, you know, they've been doing this a long time. I mean, they're experts at this. They're the professionals at it. I mean, it's if they didn't, there was something that they saw that these guys, weren't good enough to make it to the majors. Even though, like, guys like me and my older brother, we thought, these guys are good. They'll probably make it, but it's not that simple. It's not easy. But like you said, you got to stand out. You got to excel at what it is you're good at and take that to the next level. So, that is some great advice. Now, it sounds like athleticism runs in the family. Your
Mhm,
son,
mhm,
you played football,
mhm.
right? So you played football. Um, if you had to do it over again, would you have done it differently?
Nah, nah, football is just too physical for me, man.
Okay. Fair enough, man. It really is.
But I was halfway decent at it, I will admit. I had a really good high school coach, Robert Shannon, and from East St. Louis. So, and he taught me how to work as well. I used to go into the gym and catch passes in the morning before school. I mean, so myself and my son, we've been working hard at this for the longest time. It's just, man, be good at, you know, it's your best tool. And man, people take notice. So, but no, football just no, it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I understand. I was curious because players play multiple sports, and some pick football, some pick baseball, others pick basketball. What? So baseball. I mean, I know you really love the sport, but and also is just less physical. I take it.
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
know what? Let me okay, let me answer that again. Now, if NIL had been around back when I was in high school, yeah, I'd probably be going to play football. But
Oh man.
as far as the physicality, no, not really.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Not well. You know what? Football, in all seriousness, it is a dangerous sport. I mean, those guys get concussions. I mean, torn ACLs, torn MCLs. They're out for the season. It's like all it takes is one injury, and then it's like it could also potentially ruin your career where you can't play the game anymore. So baseball, it's not like that. I mean, you could still get hurt in baseball. Injuries are always occur in baseball, but it's not to the level of football. So I think you made the right decision personally, but
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm glad you became a baseball player. So got to see you play, and it was great. It was great at during those times. I mean, I loved it. Couple more questions here from the chat.
Mhm.
Let's see. So I don't know if you keep up with Yankees prospects,
Mhm,
but
mhm, mhm.
William here is asking what your thoughts are on the current prospects from the Yankees.
The Yankees prospect, they have a tougher time cracking the big leagues because you only have a very short window to perform
Mm-hmm.
to determine if you're ready to step in. Because the Yankees, they're trying to win today. It's not a situation where you can go there, you get a full season to try to figure it out. They need contributors right away. So, that's the first strike against them. The other thing is the Yankees have really good scouting. They have really good analytics in place. They just need players that's going to execute their vision. So, with that said, they'd rather go with a mature guy who's already performed, like the Goldsmiths and all these
Mm-hmm.
guys that they're bringing in. So, playing for the Yankees is totally different than playing for the Florida Marlins. So that kind of hurt being a prospect for the Yankees. You can be really good, but I tell you what, if you can't perform immediately, they just don't have that room, that runway for you to try to figure it out. That's the only thing that hurts being a Yankees prospect, in my eyes. I don't know that. I haven't spoke to anybody in the organization. Just from what I see, you really have to go with the proven guys as a New York Yankee.
Yeah, well, the thing with the Yankees is just again from a fan perspective, you're used to seeing these guys win championships all the time,
Mhm.
So they haven't won a World Series in 15 years, and fans are there's some fans out there that are saying that the Yankees never play their prospects, they don't give their prospects a chance. But at the same time, I asked the fans, I'm like, well, do you want to win now or do you want to win later? Because with prospects, don't expect these guys to be hitting, 290, 40 home runs. I mean, with these prospects, and I say this all the time, you got to give them time to develop. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to struggle. They're going to have to go through that adversity. And, sometimes you have to suck it up, and the team may not make it to the playoffs, let's say, or they may not see a World Series for a few years because they got young guys that are trying to develop, and they and some, and it may not work out. That's also the risk of being a prospect. Not all of them make it. So I'm glad you shared that, because the Yankees organization is a win now organization. They're trying to win it now instead of waiting 4 or 5 years. They don't want to go through bad seasons. It's kind of like the Orioles. They suffered for a while. Now they're much better. I mean, they were getting high draft picks because they were one of the worst teams in baseball. But now with all those draft picks, they have a good farm. They got a good team, a young team, still needing experience, especially when it comes to the postseason. So you're absolutely right, and you definitely hit the nail on the head on that one. So
And I tell you what, and you couple that with playing in New York,
yeah,
man.
forget it. Yeah, and there's a lot of pressure. Yeah. I mean, if you don't perform well, it's like, okay, well, we're gonna boo this guy, send him back. He's a wash, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we laugh about it, but it's so true. It's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
um, one last question here, and I know we're kind of little pastime. I don't know if you got another minute or two, but
Sure.
cool. So one last question here. This is from our friend Ronnie Green. He's asking, what can we do to get some more American brothers back in baseball?
Man, that's a great question.
All right.
Of course, I have a vision, and I talked about it in my book, Hitting on His Own New Baseball Paradigm. You know, it's going to have to be um, a change in the analytics. I personally feel, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I think baseball, it would be a better quality of baseball if more blacks were in the game, especially with the way they're allowing these guys to play with swag. I mean, I did an event for Major League Baseball Develops about 10 years ago, and some of the most talented people I've ever seen in my life, with some young black brothers from the inner city. So I know we definitely have the tools and skill sets to play in the major leagues, but we're gonna have to find the analytics that's gonna give the young brothers a shot again. Because ultimately, the Latin players, they're big home run hitters. Over here in the US, the younger athletic players early on are taught to put the ball on the ground and try to beat out base hits, right? Let the pitchers pitch, and that's how they win at the lower levels. But until those analytics come back, or at least come a little closer to, guys having to hit 25 and 30 home runs, in my eyes, that's the only way it's going to happen. Man, we can play defense with the best of them. We can steal base with the best of them. But to ask American-born players when they're taught so young to just put the ball on the ground and run, I think from an offensive side, that kind of hurt. That's going to hurt the opportunities for young black ball players. So they need to switch the environment up and let these guys swing the bat like they're asking for at the major league level. Nobody care about if major league players strike out. So why there's such a big problem when guys at the younger ages strike out until they figure it out. So I think it's going to have to be driven by the analytics for sure. It's got to bring the game closer uh, to making the big leagues reachable for them.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we always, I always like to see, baseball reach out to different communities and give folks an opportunity to, play the sport and grow the sport, so, those things are really important. And then just one last question for me.
Mhm.
Now, I know your son is an outfielder. You played second base.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever played any other position, or have teams ever asked you to play another position
So
ever?
I came up as a shortstop, but I played a little
Yeah.
outfield for Joe Torre. And I'll tell you something that's cool about Joe Torre.
Okay.
Joe Torre's my guy. I like, man, Joe Torre took care of me. And the day I walked into his office to say, Joe, I think I'm gonna go ahead and hang him up. We were in spring training. And Joe was like, "Oh, come on, Homer, man, you're a baseball player." He said, "Matter of fact, I feel like giving Bernie the day off. This is in spring training, and we're playing a night game." He said, "I'm gonna give Bernie the day off. Come play center field for me tonight." And I said, "Joe, man, I think I'm done." And he said, "All right, take a couple days, see you on it with Mama. Come back and let me know what you want to do." Came back a couple days later and said, I'm gone. But Joe wanted me to play center field for him that night in spring training. So uh, yes, people have actually played different positions. So my son wanted to play shortstop, but I was like totally against it. And I coached him until he was 14. I said, dude, go to the outfield, catch a few fly balls, and just bang. Be aggressive on the bases. You'll be good. Trust me. You don't want to pause that infield. 'Cause you have to be on in the infield. All these bunt plays and knowing where need to be on the cutoff. I mean, it's a lot stressful game in the infield as far as I'm concerned. So I was
Yeah.
like, nah, we're not gonna do that. And then he ended up outgrowing the infield anyway. So I got spared on that front.
Definitely. No,
Yeah.
these days, man, you see a lot of players playing different positions, and I don't know if sometimes I know if players feel way out of position or they just don't feel comfortable. I mean, that had to been a little nerve wracking for you to play center field, because that's a big position to fill, man. I mean, You were just like, oh my God. I was like, what's Joe doing to me right now?
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was pretty cool.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, Homer, I do appreciate you coming on, man. It was great seeing you play. It's great talking to you here. I mean, face to face, this was awesome. I loved having you on. I'd love to have you on again in the future. For anybody that is interested, where can they find you on like the social medias of the world?
Oh, I'm at Bush Homer on most of the platforms. So
Bush
yeah,
Homer.
uh, yeah,
Okay.
at Bush
Okay.
Homer.
So
Yeah,
yeah. So anybody wants to follow Homer Bush, or make sure you follow him on all social media platforms, Bush Homer. So give him a follow. Go, and see what he does in his day to day life. So
no doubt, good stuff.
yeah, yeah. I bet, man. I bet that's
Thanks for the
awesome.
opportunity. I enjoy being on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Like I said, shout out to you, man. I'd love to have you on again in the future. And thank you again. Have yourself an awesome day, man.
You do the same. Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you. All right. Thank you, Homer.
Bye bye.
Bye. All right, folks. Well, that was a fun, awesome interview. I hope you all enjoyed it. That was awesome. Wow, Homer Bush is a cool guy. He's a really cool guy. Another great interview. Shout out to Nithin Ramachandra for him and his team setting this up. He Nithin hit me up yesterday. Was just like, hey, we got the interview with Homer Bush for you. So let's go. Yeah, I was like, all right, cool. We'll make it happen. So I'm glad we finally came through. First time around, I was supposed to interview him, but then he got busy with work. But that's okay. But I'm glad I got him on. But yeah, so I loved it. I hope you all enjoyed it too. I hope you all enjoyed it too. So if you did, make sure you all hit that like button. All right. Make sure you all hit that like button. It does really help the channel out. Hit that subscribe button. Let's continue growing this channel. We're on the road to 1,500 subs. Share this channel out with everyone you know. Get your friends, your family, to join in on the Strike Zone crew, people. So I would greatly appreciate it. But that's gonna do it for me. Again, I thank you all for coming on, and I don't know when I'll be live next, but just make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss when I go live. So thank you all again. I greatly appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Signing out. Get down.